Welcome to The Voices That Propel Us, stories of justice, action, and community, a space where justice meets action and community voices rise. Each episode, we bring you stories from the front lines, changemakers, disruptors, and everyday heroes who are building a more just, equitable, and liberated world. This is more than a podcast. It's a call to listen, learn, and move together. You were just listening to music from the incredibly talented Stephen Kong. You can find him on Spotify and Bandcamp. Today we have with us Hollis Peirce. Hollis is a dedicated advocate and insightful commentator on disability issues and lives with congenital muscular dystrophy. Through personal experiences, Hollis has turned a powerful platform for change. Equipped with a master's degree in history from Carleton University, Hollis brings a deep understanding of societal dynamics to both public speaking engagements and as a host of the podcast 21st Century Disability. This podcast explores how the modern world is reshaping societal perceptions of disability. Hollis's outstanding work in disability advocacy has been recognized with the Meritorious Service Medal in the Civil Division, inspiring and influencing conversations around accessibility and inclusion. Well, hi, Hollis. I'm really excited and grateful that you're here this morning. As I was sharing with you, I'm really passionate and about disability rights. This is something that is really near and dear to my heart and something that I've learned more about as I grew older through adulthood. But how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Denise. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Thank you for asking. And, thank you again for your time. I'm excited to explore more of your story and, just the voice. And, I think you just have such a powerful story to share. So the first question I had for you, when you think back to your early years, what moments or influences shaped the way that you understand disability, justice, and community?
Yeah, I think really it was when I was growing up, I was very sort of secluded as an individual with disabilities. None of my siblings have a disability, and I was always the only kid in the classroom with an obvious disability. And it was when I was young. I went to what is called Easter Seals camps. I don't know if you know what those are, but they're just camps for children with disabilities, and there's counselors that help us do things like sailing and rock climbing and things like that. And there was these two guys that had sort of similar disabilities to me that sort of took me under their wing and sort of helped me see that disability was a bigger community and that I could do more things and do anything that I wanted in spite of my disability.
No, that's so wonderful. Thank you for sharing that too. And so, I think that what you've been through, you have so much resilience, so much strength. So your journey includes profound medical challenges and, really life-altering decisions. So how has your understanding of resilience evolved over time, and what does resilience look for you now?
Well, Denise, from a very young age, when I was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy, I was only 6 months old, and so I don't obviously remember that appointment or anything like that. But my parents told me that the doctor who diagnosed me told them that I would have an inability to thrive. And that, he really didn't expect much of my life or know that I would live past a certain age. But, that was the 1980s when they really didn't know much about neuromuscular disabilities. And so my family sort of always pushed the idea that I was not limited to my physical capabilities.
That's beautiful.
And I always joke about the fact that my father always used to point at my head and he'd
Mhm.
say, "There's nothing wrong up here,"
I love
and
that.
and now, my family, really supported me in my journey to have a greater academic journey, and now I've got a graduate degree, and
Mhm.
I always I always point out to my older sister that I am the most educated person
Yeah.
in the family.
No, I
Yeah.
love that. I really love that. No, how was that for you though to like be able to prove like medical professionals wrong, like to like thrive, even though they said that, you probably won't be able to. What is that like for you to have like the successful life, despite being told otherwise when you're younger?
Well, it was it feels good. It feels good. It
Yeah.
definitely feels good. My mom has played just an amazing role in my life, and she really just dedicated a lot and
Mhm.
sacrificed a lot of her own personal life to see me thrive, and
Mhm.
driving me to whatever I needed appointment, whether that is to play powder hockey or
Mhm.
go to an academic event
Mhm.
or yeah, do whatever. Um, and really, she always helped me to find my new normal. Is the what she sort of has described it as, and how I have always been able to, no matter, as you say, I've had many different periods in my life where I've reached a new level of medical sort of progression in my disability, but I've still been able to find a way to get back to where I was.
Mhm.
And she is the main reason why I have always been able to do that.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. Have you ever noticed that your own story of resilience and just like strength has been able to support or inspire other people with disabilities? And like I love how you say that, like being their own normal.
Um, yeah, well, I think I never really see myself as
Hmm.
a leader in
Okay.
any way. I'm always just doing what I do,
Yeah.
and but I've made an effort to sort of build a stronger
Hmm.
community around me to sort of demonstrate to those with disabilities around me that life is awesome, and
Yeah.
they, even though they're disabled, it's not a bad thing. And I founded a power wheelchair hockey league when I was 21,
Oh,
and
wow.
uh, yeah, actually, no, wait, is that true? Yeah, 21. When I was 21 in 2009, and that league is still thriving. And
Yeah.
I went away from it because of a medical issue, but now I've sort of recovered and am confident in my own abilities again, and
Uh-huh.
I'm back in that league and playing again.
That's
And
wonderful.
it's
That's
sort of
really
funny.
cool.
It's sort of funny to me is how I was there at the 30 year this year, and there's so many new
Yeah.
players there, and I'm so happy that there is. And so the players are getting to know me, and they're asking me, "Oh, how do you find out about us?" And like
Mhm.
that kind of thing. And I'm like, actually, I made this league,
I
and
know that's really
you're here because
awesome.
I was here. Yeah, yeah,
No, I
yeah.
love that. When I saw that, I was so happy because actually I used to play roller hockey myself and yeah, I'm trying to get back into it again, my older years. But how was that for you though, actually playing like hockey? Like yeah, I'd love to hear more about that, like Power Wheelchair Hockey League. I thought that was awesome when I saw that. But yeah, how's that different from like ice hockey or roller hockey?
Well, it's just like any other para sport.
Oh,
And where you have different levels of disabilities. You have like a level one player who
okay.
is perfectly able to control the ball with his stick without the momentum of his wheelchair or her
Okay.
wheelchair. And then there's a little two player who can control the ball but needs the help with the momentum of the chair to swing their arms. And then there's a level three player like me who
Hmm.
has a stick attached to their chair. And yeah, it's a great way to get to know other people in your community that
Hmm.
you may not have met other ways because you don't go to the same school or live in the same area. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
No, that's amazing. Actually, something that you were talking about leadership really resonated with me. So, are you familiar with AmeriCorps?
No.
Okay, so AmeriCorps is like the domestic version of Peace Corps, and basically they work with people to develop like professional development skills and send them into communities like nonprofits and schools to really strengthen communities. And I did this amazing program called Public Allies, and their actual tagline it says "Everyone leads," and one thing that yeah it really stuck with me because I feel like we have these like traditional images of what leadership looks like you have to be on a megaphone or you have to speak really loudly. They're the people speaking out like in rooms and stuff. But what I learned through that program is that leadership looks all different ways. So myself, I'm a pretty soft-spoken person, but for me to realize like well, leadership can also be like quiet and behind the scenes type of leadership. And as you're talking and saying like you didn't think of yourself as a leader, but as you're like seeing even these like experiences, like no, you're totally a leader. You develop your own like hockey league. That's really incredible. And that's why I hope that people could realize more like that power of the leadership that you have within you. And like to like really let it shine. And I think it's beautiful the work that you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah. It's been a wild road, and
Yeah.
I'm doing some public speaking now. Trying to get more into that
Yeah.
industry, and my podcast is doing very well as well,
Yeah.
which is awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, and yeah,
Yeah,
so.
no, actually, I'd love to hear more about your podcast, though. So, what inspired you to start this podcast, and how has hosting it shaped your own thinking about disability and society?
Well, it's a funny thing to me is I started out my podcast because in 29 in 20 well in 2019 I graduated from my master's degree, and it was a master's degree in history, and I had had some experience with guest lecturing and things like that, and it really inspired me to want to do more of that type of thing. But then in 2021, well,
Hmm.
the pandemic hit, and then in 2021, I had a medical issue that led me to be on a vent now, as you can see.
Yeah.
and living in a complex care unit, which I would have never imagined happening.
Yeah.
When I was I was living on campus, and I was really just wondering, okay, what was next in my independent life,
Right.
and um, and so I didn't really know what in what way I could get back to that, and I knew that I wanted to do some lecturing, but and so I started the podcast. This is a means of
Hmm.
lecturing, and so my first 10 episodes or so are just me doing monologue episodes,
Yeah.
and it was fun. It was a lot of fun, but it was so funny. My family and a couple of friends of mine were telling me, Hollis, like, you know, we're tired of listening to
Yeah.
quote unquote Radio Hollis, or Professor Hollis. Like,
Yeah.
you should be having conversations and, just being you.
Yeah.
And that's really how I started that in my like third season of it, and now it's just I am happy that I listened to that advice, because
Yeah.
it's been a great ride, and I've gotten to know some great people through it, including
Yeah.
yourself.
No,
So
no, me
yeah,
too, me too.
yeah.
Yeah, I love being in this Podmatch community. And what's the name of your podcast in case my listeners would like to check it out?
Yeah, my podcast is called 21st Century Disability.
Mm.
And so at the beginning of every episode, I sort of say, it is the show um, is the show that analyzes how the modern world is changing the way society sees disability.
Yeah, no, I love that, and I'd love to check out that as well. And so something I wanted to ask you about too. So I've noticed that like when it comes to disability justice, sometimes like it's invisible even in like larger social movements. I think there's been more visibility, more of a presence, but I think there's still times where like it is missing from the conversation. So how do you see disability justice fitting into like larger social movements that are going on?
Um, that's a bit of a field that I'm still trying to educate myself on. But I mean,
Yeah,
disability justice um, can mean many things.
right.
I'm a student of history, as I told you earlier, and so
Hmm.
in my master's thesis was all about academic accessibility in the
Okay.
post-secondary universe, and but in that time,
Mhm.
I studied about the different models of history, or sorry, of disability, and
Okay.
the medical model, and the charity model, and the social model, and I very much promote the social model of disability,
Okay.
where yeah, you have a disability, but the major thing that is creating barriers around you is your environment.
Right.
And if you eliminate some of those barriers, by a simple thing like having a ramp into your store,
Yeah.
you become less disabled. And
Hmm.
um, I learned all about, the development of the ADA,
Hmm.
and my disappointment that Canada, where I am, doesn't doesn't really have something to that extent. And
Yeah.
but you know, and also this difficulty with disabled pensions and things like that. Like I live in Ottawa, Ontario, in Canada, and the ODSP is what you receive as a disabled individual. And so what it is it is a pension that is intended to pay you for a certain amount for your, rent and your food and things like that. But it also has so many legal limitations to it. So, like for instance, if you earn more than $1,000 in a month, it cuts you off automatically. And so, it's a pension that is designed to intentionally keep disabled people in poverty.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And I am fortunate. I mean, it's very odd of me to say, but I am fortunate enough that I am living in a hospital or a complex care unit, and so ODSP pays my room and board here, but outside of that, they give me very little money. It's like maybe $100 a month outside of that. And so, as you know, that's in today's sort of world, that is nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I think we have similar issues in the United States as well, because I think about that a lot too, how there's systems in place that I think is not meant to help like really uplift people or like try to get them to live better lives, but it's like intentionally keeping people in poverty too. So I know like we call them like food stamps or SNAP benefits. And basically if you have over a certain amount of assets, like you're not eligible for that anymore. And I know for myself too, when I was like going through a lot of health issues and had to rely on benefits. When I was going back to work, I had to think like, what's a job that will be worth like me losing all of my benefits for? Because I think if I get another job that barely pays me anything and I lose all of these benefits, it's like, well, no, I not only have to, worry about, not making too much, but also I'm losing these benefits. So I have to like spend more money on, medical cost and whatnot. But yeah, I just wish that systems will be built more to help empower people to the next level and not like try to keep people in poverty.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because we
Absolutely.
definitely see it here too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it sort of limits you to what kind of thing you want to do in your life. And because there's always a period of time where you are you're just up and coming in the world and you're making
yeah,
not that much money, but you are on the road to success, a higher
yeah,
career. But then if you have something that is limiting you in that way, it's not allowing you to reach for that
yeah.
higher level that you might want to get to.
Yeah, no, and actually, I used to work at the Center for Independent Living, CIL in Berkeley. And one thing that I felt was really empowering. So basically, it's like people with disabilities were mostly, yeah, it was predominantly people with disabilities working on staff, empowering other people with disabilities. And their whole thing was like, supporting people with disabilities shouldn't just be us like trying to help them just to survive and just to make it, but we should really support people with disabilities in living independent lives and having jobs, this and that. So it's yeah, I think that's where I want people to like have that kind of perspective, like supporting people with disabilities and thriving rather than just like, oh, how can we help them just live another day or, having that kind of perspective.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, my next question for you, in your view, what are the biggest misconceptions that people still hold about disability in the 21st century?
Um, that is a good question. And it is very frustrating that, when you're seen as someone in a wheelchair, there's still that automatic connotation that you
Mhm.
have some sort of um, uh, mental disability as well. And so you are spoken down to, or
Right.
so yeah. And I have I have a benefit of having a a wheelchair that elevates so that I can
Okay.
be at eye to eye level with someone that's standing.
Hmm.
And it is remarkable the tone of voice that I hear people talk to
Right.
me with when I
Right.
am lower down as
Yeah.
opposed to when I am at their eye level.
Hmm.
And and so I really think that one of the major misconceptions of disability is that you have more disability than you are than is visible. Is
Yeah,
that
no, that totally makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I would say even like with myself too. So I have like a lot of, I don't know if it's like mental health, but it's like a lot of invisible disabilities too. So I think it just like people looking
Yeah.
at me, they wouldn't make those assumptions because I'm able-bodied. And I think people just need to
Hmm.
realize that there's a wide spectrum of disability, and disabilities is not always just related to physical. And, it can be,
Uh,
but it's just like there's so many other kinds of disabilities that you also just can't see.
yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of a lot of negative connotations to invisible disabilities in that you are uh if you have a non-visible disability, it's almost like you have to prove that you are
Hmm.
um that you qualify for these certain benefits.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine someone, all the people like, oh, well, you're not disabled.
Yeah.
You're not in a wheelchair. You're not
Yeah. Yeah.
using crutches or something like that. But on the other hand, there is a lot more um, not appreciation of invisible disabilities, but there is a lot more
Hmm.
discussion happening now about the spectrum, and
Hmm.
there's a lot more tools available for people with who are on the spectrum. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, thank you for bringing that up. So, I know that you've said that society is reshaping the way that disability is perceived. So what changes feel most promising? And also, what kind of barriers do you notice that are still like deeply entrenched?
Well, I think uh, the reason why I say the modern world is eliminating
Hmm.
these barriers is technology, and technology is a phenomenal thing.
Hmm.
For instance, I'm also the head of accessibility and inclusion on a kickstarting company that is building uh, um, adaptive robot arms
Okay.
for wheelchairs.
Okay.
It's called Cielo Robotics, and so it's imagine being able to have a robot arm on your chair and it being
Well,
able to reach for things that are out of your reach, or literally open doors that are closed, that have been
Mm-hmm.
closed to you, and you haven't been able to open them before
Right.
in your life. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, thank you for sharing that. And so I think that many people have limited understanding of what life is like in long-term complex care facility. And what do you wish that more people understood about that experience?
Um. Yeah. I think one thing that I think there is a wide range of um, why people are in these types of complex care units.
Hmm.
I have a lot of people in this unit and committee that are or community that are
Hmm.
friends of mine. They have very serious progressive disabilities like ALS,
Hmm.
and so that is the more common. And so it's hard to sort of differentiate between
Hmm.
where I live and a hospital,
Hmm.
because anytime someone enters the building, it is a hospital, um, and so you constantly have people saying, "Oh, I want to come visit you," and
Hmm.
things like that. Instead of saying, "Oh yeah, I want to come over and watch a game." Yeah, let's do it.
Right.
And even I struggle with that on a number of occasions because the staff here
Hmm.
are fantastic, but there are nurses here um, that do sort of are used to are more used to people who are non-responsive
Okay.
and just people who are here because they are nearing the end of their life,
Hmm.
and are needing a more hospital type of environment. Whereas I'm the kind of guy who still
Hmm.
breaks down those barriers. And, like my doctor let me sign a waiver saying that I can leave the hospital
Hmm.
without an accompaniment or things like that. And so,
Okay.
they'll see me leaving the hospital building in the summertime on my
Hmm.
own without an ambu bag in case something goes wrong. But I'm always
Okay.
saying, like, if I'm on my own, how am I using an ambu bag? And but yeah, and actually, it's kind of funny. My brother helped me to see a benefit of it even
Okay.
more. He's like, I always, I do. There are certain moments in my life that I don't like living here, and
Okay.
I don't want to leave my, family dinners to go back to the hospital. And there's, uh, um, but then I sort of remember, the benefits of living here. And I
Right.
am a 5-second walk from my
Okay.
physiotherapist and
Okay.
my occupational therapist and the gym and so many different resources. And so my brother was telling me, Hollis, you're almost living
Mhm.
a full service condo building. And
I love that. Does it
and
feel
I'm
like
like,
that?
it, I mean, in a certain way, if you look at it like that,
Okay.
yeah. And I really appreciated the way he said that to me because yeah, that really sort of reminded me of my frustrations of being, 2 weeks from any type of appointment,
Hmm.
whereas now I am 5 minutes away from any type of appointment.
Oh, okay.
I'll tell you right now. For
Uh-huh.
instance, this morning I woke up and, sometimes communication in this type of building is not the most
Yeah.
efficient because,
Right.
like, sometimes certain people know things that they expect you to know, but you have no idea what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have like a dermatologist appointment, and I woke up this morning and I had plastic surgery before 10 a.m. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, do you feel like you're able to have autonomy like in that kind of environment, or notice that other people could have autonomy too?
Um, yeah, I think they should.
Okay.
I mean, I think the hospital is doing everything they can to give me autonomy.
Yeah.
Because they are not used to having someone like me, and
Right.
every staff member here is always reminding me how, oh, Hollis is so special. Hollis
Oh,
is it's always the acceptance for Hollis. Like,
that's
oh,
wonderful.
Hollis is always the exception to the rule.
I love that.
And I mean that is very sweet in some ways, but very tiring to hear in other ways.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I love
yeah.
that. No, thank you for sharing your experiences. I think it's great to know because even myself, I'm not that aware of what those kind of environments are. And maybe a lot of my listeners might not be aware too. So thank you so much for, just sharing your experiences of how that's like. And I'd also love to talk with you about other work that you've done. So you've spoken about doing accessibility audits for community events like music festivals. So
Hmm.
what were some of the most meaningful changes that you saw come from this work?
Well, one of the main changes that I saw coming from the work is like, for instance, I did those audits like
Mhm.
over a decade ago,
Oh,
and
wow. Wow.
I went to I went to that one of those music festivals, and I experienced firsthand the new wheelchair section of the seating areas.
Okay.
I mean, it's not the best seats in the
Hmm.
house. It's just they used to be in the VIP section,
Okay.
so that you were close to the stage. But in this day and age, music festivals like that want as big of space as they can to
Hmm.
sell more and more VIP tickets.
Okay.
So now the wheelchair spots are way in the back.
Oh, no. Okay.
But um, but the benefit of it also is that they had a company um, that was offering attending chair.
Okay.
So they had attendants on site and
Okay.
a portable, accessible bathroom. And so
Okay.
if you needed to go to the bathroom, they had people there to help you with
Oh,
that.
that's good. Okay, well, that's
Yeah.
good that they have them on site because actually to get through college, that was one of my first jobs. Actually, I was attendance for people with disabilities. But one thing that I did enjoy though is like because like, but I think that's great that they actually have attendance there. But it just like we didn't have that kind of access. They didn't have that kind of access to attendance. So, but it was good for me because I went to like shows with my friends. Because the people I worked with, we became good friends too.
Yeah.
And like I went to Vegas with them because they needed an attendant. But so yeah, I think me being on the side of attendance, like, oh, this is awesome. I could go to all these places because they need an attendant to go with them. But I think it's really cool that like places are starting to acknowledge the importance of like also having attendance on site because I don't think I've ever
Hmm.
heard something like that. Like I would always need to go with the people because they didn't have access to that kind of care.
Yeah. Well, and that's a very good point that you bring up,
Mm.
Denise, in that you inevitably spend so much time with your attendants that you become friends with them.
Yeah, we became very close friends.
And I've been best man at a couple
Wow.
of my attendant weddings,
That's
and
wonderful.
I've seen their one, for instance, one attendant of mine, um, she was my attendant, and I needed to have her stay a bit later than usual, and so
Okay.
she asked me if she minded if I minded if she just used the bathroom to put some makeup
Mhm.
on while I finished what I needed to be done, and I was like, yeah, sure. And
Okay.
then I was like, wait a second, you have a date tonight, don't you? And she's like,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
okay.
Yeah.
And that turned out to be the first date of her now husband. And
Wow. That's
yeah.
cool. That's really cool.
And so, you know, it's, you, you learn to be friends with the people that are
Yeah.
taking care of you, and that's really something that I've had to get used to
Okay.
living here, because
Okay.
when you are living in a hospital with nurses,
Right. Right.
that is not a thing anymore.
Yeah.
When you are being taken care of by professional nurses, it is a
Mhm.
very one-way
I could see that.
relationship,
Yeah. Yeah, no,
and
totally.
a lot of that is, I think, like, that is the primary reason why I don't like living here, is that
Okay.
because you are surrounded by people
Yeah.
here, but you're not really, you feel lonely because
Yeah.
you don't have anyone around you that that you're sharing your life with.
Yeah.
They know intimate details about you, but that you don't have any idea about intimate details about them.
Yeah, no, no, that totally makes sense. And I think it's just the way that it's probably set up too, because nurses probably see a lot of people, all day and have to go through them. But like versus me as an attendant, working in college, I just had this one person, this main person that I worked with, and then I worked with other people, with disabilities too. But yeah, I think that there's that special bond that was created because like the work is so intimate. So I would like help to bathe this person every day, and it became more than just a job. So like we use this time to just share like stories with each other and stuff. But I could see like in a situation where you're in where nurses take it just more professionally, like just getting, patients, working with them in and out.
Yeah,
Versus like attendance, I think we have that ability to build more friendships. As you said, like you've been able to be best man for people that worked with you.
yeah, and it's very weird living in a
Yeah.
workspace.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
it's yeah.
No, that's cool. I'd love to hear like advice from you. So, what do you think that non-disabled people can begin doing today to meaningfully advance disability justice in their own communities? Because yeah, what I do a lot on this podcast is talk about allyship. Like, even though we're not from like specific
Mhm.
communities, how can we really start to show up for one another? I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I think, well, not be judgmental
Right,
of
right.
someone, not put automatic assumptions about someone just because they look different or just because
Hmm.
they need something extra. And just talk to them like they're people, because they're people. And
Yeah.
that's actually, I mean, it's reminding me right now of my relationship with homeless people.
Uh-huh.
And because I always joke with my mom about how if something goes wrong when I am out on my own, I'm just gonna pull up next to a homeless person and say, "Hey, can
Yeah.
you help me out?" And um, you know, that obviously that idea made her nervous, but
Okay.
I always find that I am comfortable with homeless individuals because I feel like they are also facing a vulnerability that that they recognize in me as well. And for instance, I was sitting in a park and I hadn't moved in a long time, and one of the things I love, Denise, is just sitting in a public space and just watching people. And just because it's entertaining. And and I hadn't moved in a long time, and this homeless guy came up to me who was in the park for that period of time, and I was a bit nervous at first, but then he sort of said to me, you haven't moved in a long time. Is your chair out of batteries or? And he was concerned about me.
Wow. And he noticed. That's beautiful.
Yeah, and so I would say to people in general, again, don't make assumptions and talk to people like they're people. Because the worst thing that can happen is that you can find out that you need to communicate in a different way. And like for instance, I have friends of mine that have severe stutters, and they're totally cognitively able, but they've got severe stutters, and so it may take them like a couple seconds or more than a couple seconds to get what they want to say out. And at times they find that frustrating. And so from time to time they'll just be fed up and they'll just like, no, never mind. It's not a big deal. And then, I sort of say to them, no, like, I'm in no hurry. I want to know what you had to say. Yeah.
No, thank you so much for bringing that up. And I think you bring up such like beautiful points because, I feel like we need to like find more common ground and realize like, yeah, we should just like listen to each other more and just see like how we can support each other through different movements. So I think that's why like I consider myself an activist. So I think I'm always thinking about social justice on a larger scale. But it's like also like how can we, take it more on a micro level. So it's like, even just different ethnicities, like how can we band together, disability justice? How can we like, even with the homelessness, unhoused issues, like how can we see it as like, oh, not this is your movement, this is my movement, but it's like really like, no, we're trying to make things better for everyone and we should really work together. And I think that's a really beautiful point that you brought up. Yeah, thank you. But I had such a wonderful time talking with you. You just have so many beautiful things to share, and I appreciate your stories and your voice. But how can people find you if they'd like to connect with you?
Yeah, well, thanks, Denise. If you want to, follow my podcast, it's called 21st Century Disability.
Okay.
And it is available on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, whatever, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Okay.
And if they want to find out more about me, they can go to 21stcenturydisability.com. And that is 21ST Century Disability. Or if they want to just email me, they just email me at hollis.peirce@me.com.
Okay. Wonderful. Well, thank you again. And I'm, just extremely grateful to be connected with you. And I wish you all the best and hope you have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, you too, Denise.
Okay. Thank you. Talk to you again soon. Bye. Thank you for being here and tuning in to Voices That Propel Us, stories of justice, action, and community. Your presence in this movement matters. If today's conversation moved you, share it, talk about it, and keep the work going. Together, we're not just imagining change, we're making it. Until next time, stay bold, stay grounded, and stay in the fight.
Every time I feel so mad and sad and bad, I say to myself, relax, lean back, it's a brand new day. And every time I feel so down that a frown is all